Okay, thank you for joining us today on our webinar for some tips and tricks to get your Xero data file ready for the end of financial year handover to the accounting team for preparation of your annual accounts. I hope everybody is enjoying the winter weather that's arrived. It's certainly been very, very cold. I hope everybody's keeping warm. My name is Justine and I'm the software specialist here at McIntyre Dick. My role is relatively a new role for the business, whereby I'm here solely to assist you in using your financial software. Just to let you know, this webinar is being recorded. If you would like a copy of the recording, please just let me know. If you would like to ask a question at any time, please feel free to use the chat box and I'll answer your questions at the end of the session. Sorry, just bear with me. Excellent, there we go. Using Xero makes preparing your annual accounts an automated process for our accounting team, as we have the ability to import your data from Xero directly into our software to help prepare your accounts. Therefore, it's quite important that your data is as accurate as it can be before we start your accounts. We're just going to go to a Xero screen now. So this is a demonstration company within Xero. So one of the first checks our team will make is whether your bank accounts reconcile. Even though you may have reconciled all of the items in your bank accounts, doesn't necessarily mean that your bank fully reconciles as we need it to. Therefore, it's important to run a bank reconciliation report. This is also an important step to make before filing your GST returns. We can do this by selecting the three dots which show by your bank's logo. Normally your bank's logo will show beside your bank account name. If we select the three dots, then we can select reconciliation report. Select the date that we wish to run the report for. So we're saying the 31st of May. What we'd like to see is the balance in Xero and the statement balance to be exactly the same. Obviously, they're not here. We'll come back to that in a minute. If there are other lines showing, it means there's something wrong. Also from this screen, if we have other bank accounts loaded in Xero, we can use the drop down to check those accounts as well. If you have other transactions that are showing on this report, we can try and click on them to see if we can drill down into them. This one, we can't. Sometimes it could be just a simple fix that it means we need to reconcile that transaction. Let's go back to our bank, to our reconcile items to see if we have a May transaction sitting there, which we do. In this instance, I'm just going to put in the who and the what and select OK. From here, I can run my report again by selecting reconciliation report, select the date again, and update. Now I can see that we balance. If, however, you still haven't fixed it by reconciling any outstanding items, we could go to the account transactions within the bank account to see where our problem may be. One of the first checks I do is on the right-hand side of the page here is a column called status. If we click on that word status, what that does is it brings any unreconciled lines to the top. so we can see what's outstanding. These items here are showing on my reconcile screen, so I'm okay with those ones at the moment. But sometimes we may find other unreconciled lines in here. Also, if I was looking for a specific transaction, quite often I will use the search button. I might select a date in particular I'm looking for, or a date range, and just select search. This cuts down on the number of transactions I'm looking at on my screen, and I'm not having to scroll down all the time. Just remember, any transaction on here, we can select and click on it to drill down into it to see what that transaction is about and where we may have coded it to. As you can see here, this one I've drilled down. It's a transaction, it's a spend money gone out of our bank account, and it's been coded to entertainment. If I decided I need to change that code, quite simple. All I need to do is select options and edit transaction. Then I can simply change the code I would like it to go to and select update. Also, if we're looking for problem transactions, why your bank might not reconcile, imported transactions are transactions we've brought in from our bank statement through our online banking. Generally, if your bank is connected in Xero, this bank transaction source will say bank feed. If you have a bank transaction source with the word user, then we may have a problem with that transaction. That means even though Xero is extremely helpful, sometimes it's too helpful. If I've been into a transaction and I've decided not to save it, or I've been interrupted and I've cancelled out of it without saving, Xero's tried to be helpful and actually saved a copy in the background. This sometimes does happen, and we can see if this does happen, we would have a user transaction as well as a bank feed transaction for the same amount. In this instance, I would go to the user transaction, and let's say, for example, this one could be, and I would options and I would remove and redo. With a user transaction, by removing and redoing it, we'll actually delete the transaction. If it was a bank feed or an imported transaction, and I selected remove and redo, this puts it back to our reconcile screen on our bank account. Now, another issue that appears from time to time is our imported statement balance. Now, what this means is when we run our bank reconciliation in Xero, sometimes we get this imported statement balance. What does that mean? So this means that the information that has come through from your actual bank feed doesn't correspond with what is in Xero, even though your Xero may balance. If there are no other lines showing on the reconciliation report to alert us to what the problem may be, the first thing to do is to verify the balance against your actual bank account, either by the actual bank statement received or by logging into your internet banking and verifying the balance. It may mean that the information fed from your bank to Xero may be missing transactions or doubled up on transactions. The other thing to consider is that the closing bank balance in your actual bank account might contain uncleared funds. How the closing balance is calculated can be different between banks. Because the bank statement lines for the uncleared amounts haven't been imported yet, the statement balance can be different from the imported statement balance. Confusing, I know. If you have verified with your bank, as we can see here, what our statement balance actually is, and this matches what we're saying in Xero, this is one time we can ignore this imported statement balance message. I see this quite commonly with Rabobank or third-party banks like SBS. Unfortunately, sometimes if your reconciliation doesn't balance, it does mean we have to go searching for what may have gone wrong. As always, if you are unsure or not sure how to fix it, get in contact with us through our software help desk, email, or by phone. If you buy and sell livestock, it is important to track the quantities of these. When you're coding your transaction, make sure you enter the quantity of livestock bought or sold in the description field, or the what. If our accounting team needs to go looking for information regarding livestock, this is the first place they will look. By simply adding in the quantity in the livestock class, we can track what has happened. When you sell livestock to your supplier, they may deduct a portion off your payment for company shares if you hold shares in that company. You need to ensure that you are coding the share portion as part of the sales, so you are not understating your income on your livestock. When you receive your kill sheet from your supplier, take note of any deductions towards your shares. As we can see here on the top of the screen, this is the bottom of an alliance kill sheet that says contribution for shares. In Xero, we'll need to code this deduction to your shares. This would be coded as shown here. Remember to split out your transaction into multiple coding lines. From the reconcile screen, we select add details, and from the cash coding screen, from the arrow on the right-hand side, and select split. The deduction for the shares needs to be a negative amount, so your transaction balances. We can see here, we've got our full income for our lamb sales, apologies. And then we've had a share deduction taken off. There is no GST content on the share contribution. Another check to make is to ensure that your GST returns have been finalised in Xero. These can be easily checked by selecting Accounting, then GST Returns. If GST return is not showing as an option, simply select Accounting, then Reports, and select the GST return. From this screen, we can see if your GST returns are not saved as a final. This one here is still as a draft, which means it has not been finalised as yet. You won't be able to complete your next GST return until this one has been finalised. To finalise your GST return, simply select your GST return, ensure everything is accurate, including your GST audit report, which hopefully you also use as a double check to check your coding. At the bottom of the page, we can select Save, and we'll save it as a final. This will now sit in your final GST up here in our final returns. As part of the annual accounts process, our client service administrators will send you checklists to ensure we receive all of your information, or you can download these from our website. These may include any asset purchase invoices or copies of invoices for large repairs, insurance invoices, and the like. Xero makes it easy to attach an invoice or remittances to any transaction within Xero. If you are on a subscription of Xero that allows you to enter bills or invoices, this can be completed during the entering of the bill or the invoice. We can always also do it direct into our account transactions. I could select a payment here, and if I drill down, whenever I see the piece of paper icon here, this shows us that we can attach information. Simply drag and drop the invoice to the screen from either your email or if the invoice is stored on your computer. Here's my document here. I want to attach to this transaction. I'm simply selecting it and dragging and dropping it, and it's now saved. I can see it has saved. We now have the number 1 beside the piece of paper. Another way of uploading copies of information is to use the file manager within Xero. In the top blue banner, select your Xero entity name, and then in our drop-down, we can select Files. Here we can organize a filing system within Xero by creating different folders, etc. Again, we can drag and drop, or here we have an email address that we could set up in our email to send any information into Xero, and it is stored here automatically. What my accounting team is telling me is a great thing to do is to add a new folder, and let's call this the 2022 financial year information. Then I can select that folder and I can put my files in there. Just remember to tell our accounting team if you have saved any files within your Xero, so we know where to go looking for them. So that's a quick overview of Xero and some checks you can make to ensure that your data is accurate and up to date. As always, we are available to help you at any time. We do have a help desk. You can email us, software@mdp.co.nz or xero@mdp.co.nz. Or give us a call, 03 211 0801. I am currently working from home, but I am in constant contact with the office and they are sending me messages to ring clients. We have a question here. The filing system, could we create a file with all our payroll information in there, for example? Yes, you could, definitely. If we go back to Xero, we go into our file manager, we could do the same. We could create a new folder for payroll information, and then we could add any details to that. We could add copies of contracts or pay slips or anything like that. Quite often when we get your information for your annual accounts, we will come back and ask you for further information or copies of invoices. To try and preempt that, this is why we ask for copies of any large repairs and maintenance invoices or asset purchases, any finance documents for any finance you may have taken out during the year. These can all be stored in the files as well. A question, so technically all of our end of financial year information could be saved in here? Yes, definitely. If you do save it in here, just remember to tell our team so we know we can go looking for it there. If there's no other questions, it doesn't look like there are, but thank you. I'll leave it there for today, but thank you for joining us. I am doing another session tomorrow for those clients that use Figured for our rural clients for financial management. And then next week, I'm also hosting a farm focus. But remember, at any time, please contact us. As I say to clients, no question is a silly question. I would rather you ring or email all your questions so then we don't have lots of questions for you at the end of the year. Thanks for joining us today and stay warm. Thanks, everybody.